All right, here we are. Podcast for the weekend of December 16th, 17th, and 18th. Yeah, week before Christmas. Gotta win this week. Definitely an important week to win. Good to be with everyone. Taking Vegas podcast. I am Chris Hodge. Good week last week with the free picks. Try to have a better one this week. We'll break down some of the bowl games. Gotta be careful with the bowl games. I mean, guys opting out. This problem started a few years ago, and it's only getting worse. It's only going to get worse, so we got to speak about that. Be aware of that. Some college basketball action, NBA for tonight. Give you a free pick in a moment. Free bowl games, free NFL games. We have the NFL on Saturday and Sunday, obviously Monday. We'll talk about last night's game real quick. Nice job by Brock Purdy coming in, getting the job done over Tampa Bay, getting the job done over Seattle on the road. San Francisco clinches another division. I'm going to say this. I know right now the Eagles are the best team in football. Right now. This moment, Friday, December 16th. I don't think anyone can argue that. Jalen Hurts, probably the NFL MVP. I don't think anyone could argue that either. Maybe Mahomes, but Jalen Hurts having a tremendous season. I'm not really sure anyone else could really negotiate into that between Hurts and Mahomes, depending on how the last 4 games of the season go. So great job by the Eagles. They destroyed the Giants last week. Great job by Jalen Hurts coming in where he was drafted second round and really working his butt off and having a fine start to his career. But I think the team to fear the most in the NFC, despite the injuries, despite 2 quarterbacks being out, despite losing Deebo Samuel for, probably the rest of the regular season, I think the San Francisco 49ers are the team to fear right now in the NFC. They play defense. I think if it comes down to it, if it played out and Philly was the 1 seed, Minnesota was the 2 seed, and San Francisco was the 3 seed, I don't see San Francisco losing a home playoff game. And really, after what Dallas did to Minnesota in Minnesota, I think San Francisco will go to Minnesota in the 2-3 game and win that. And then it's, conference championship again for San Francisco. And I just think their defense wins the day. I think they are the team to be feared out of the NFC. And over in the AFC, this might be a little bit of an unpopular take because it's hard to do. I still believe, even though Buffalo beat them on the road, I still believe Kansas City is the best team out of the AFC. But once again, I think the team you have to fear the most right now is Cincinnati. And it's hard to go to back-to-back Super Bowls. We get that. But I think they're the team to fear the most. For some reason, I know Buffalo plays Miami tomorrow night, and that game might be played in a snowstorm, so be aware of that with weather. I think Buffalo I don't know. It just seems like they're missing something. Am I wrong with that? Like, do you guys feel the same way? I just feel like they're missing something. Like, when I watch Buffalo play, they don't look as dominant as they looked like the last 2 seasons. Like, I don't know. They just don't. And, obviously Kansas City's Kansas City. They're always going to be there, with Mahomes. But I just think the team to fear the most is Cincinnati. I really do. I think they are the team that's getting hot right now. And they're not even in first place in their division. They have the same record as the Ravens, but, they're tied. But Baltimore beat them head-to-head earlier in the season. So technically right now, Baltimore in first place. I think those are the 2 teams. Cincinnati in the AFC, San Francisco in the NFC. I think those are the 2 teams you need to fear. I think one of those teams will get to the Super Bowl. I really do believe that. So from a gambling perspective, if you want to put a future bet on San Francisco to come out of the NFC, Cincinnati come out of the AFC, I think that's wise. Before I get into the football portion of what we're doing, 2 things to speak about. Let me give you the free pick for tonight. So Friday, Taking Vegas podcast, we go over to the NBA. As I'm doing this podcast, there was a bowl game going on. When I last checked the monitor, UAB was up 10-0. Bowl game at 3 o'clock, UTSA and Troy. Not going to give that out for free. Free pick for Friday, December 16th, Taking Vegas podcast will be the New York Knicks plus 2.5 to plus 3 over Chicago. They just played in Chicago the other night. They beat them. I used them for free a couple times. I've said their defense is getting better. Their rotations are getting better. Chicago is so banged up with injuries. Plus, you got trade talk going on all throughout that team right now. So I think a really, really valuable free pick here for Friday, December 16th. Taking Vegas podcast will be the New York Knicks plus 2.5. Again, before I get into the football portion of the week, I'm going to talk about the World Cup. You wouldn't know it. I'm always fascinated by soccer. I'm a big fan of the English Premier League. My favorite team is Tottenham. I also like Chelsea, if you could believe that. I like watching those 2 teams go at it. I'm not talking about the teams in the bottom 8 of the Premier League, but you give me a top 10 game, man, I will watch that all the time. Big fan. And I think the World Cup has been fascinating. I really do. I think it's been great. And I think it's phenomenal that we had some big teams bounced early. We had Spain bounced early. We had Brazil bounced early. But at the end of the day, on Sunday, we get Argentina with Lionel Messi most likely playing in his last World Cup, having never won a World Cup. And then we get the defending champs, France, with Mbappe, who's probably right now the best player in the world. Maybe Messi has something to say about that still. Maybe the old dog there has one more great performance in him. Because, I mean, what he did against Croatia the other day was nothing short of magnificent. Forget the penalty kick, but the assist he had on the third goal was phenomenal. And it's a game where both teams are right around the same spread. Whether you bet the 90-minute mark or you bet to win the trophy, it's the same number. So what a fascinating game. Now, I went on radio shows before the World Cup began. I was mocked a little for this. Made fun of, if you will. And I just sat there and I go, you guys don't understand soccer, man. The free pick I gave out, you can go look at the archives. Before this World Cup started, at 6-1 was Argentina. I really just thought they were the best team overall. Great goalie, obviously Messi. They play well in the back half. I'm sticking with them. So if you want a World Cup free pick to win the championship, don't do the 90-minute. Okay, I don't like that. But if you do Argentina on a 90-minute, they're like plus 180. But I don't like that because it wouldn't shock me if this game made it into extra time and even penalties. It really wouldn't shock me. I'm sticking with Argentina because I picked them before the World Cup began at 6-1. And I just think Lionel Messi, he raises his first trophy, and I would like to see that. So I'm going to go with Argentina to win the World Cup. So we've taken care of the NBA for Friday. We've taken care of the World Cup for Sunday. I know Croatia and Morocco are playing the third-place game on Saturday. I'll watch the game. I have no interest in betting it. I think it's, both teams gave so much, especially Morocco. They gave a lot against France. Croatia really didn't show up against Argentina. But it's been a great World Cup and a great time of the year. Usually this thing takes place in the summer, so we got it in November. So it was a lot of fun, and we'll stick with Argentina. Bowl games tomorrow for Saturday. 6 bowl games for tomorrow. Some you just throw out because they're just terrible games. But here's what I want to impress upon you. Here at TakingVegas.com, and you can also give us a call at 888-9-WIN-NOW, which is 888-994-6669. Bowls are tricky. You have to do a lot of research when it comes to the bowl games, not just from a travel perspective. Who is opting out? Who is in the transfer portal? What coaches are going where? Not only head coaches. A lot of people get caught up on just the head coaches. Well, coordinators leave too, and that makes it a little bit harder in terms of continuity. Play calling, offense had a certain way they were calling plays all year long. Next thing you know, defense as well. Next thing you know, offensive coordinator gone to coach someone else, defensive coordinator as well. You have a whole other issue going on. Now, there was an unfortunate story. Mike Leach unfortunately passed away. Obviously, everyone knows the air raid offense, and they attribute that to him. Offensive genius, but I never met the man. I don't know him personally. But from all the stories coming out, seemed like a very nice man. Not a bad word being said about him, nor should they be. So you have Mississippi State. They have their bowl game, which is going to be hard for those kids to play, and we'll speak about that next week on the Taking Vegas podcast. But just lots to consider: coaching changes, transfer portals, opt-outs for NFL. I mean, if you're not on top of this, you can get hurt when it comes to the bowls. You really, really can. It's a great time of the year. Everyone wants to play these bowl games, but if you're not careful, if you don't do your due diligence and your research, it could be a painful experience for you at a bad time because it's the holidays. You don't want that happening around this time. So I want you to take a look at the game for Saturday. I'm going to throw Rice, Southern Miss out, garbage in, garbage out. No one cares. I'm going to look at the Florida-Oregon State game. And Florida has a ton of people out. A ton of people out. So we're going to use Oregon State. We're going to lay the number. I generally don't like doing that, but free pick here for Saturday, okay, on the Taking Vegas podcast will be Oregon State. It looks like minus 10.5. Buy it down to 10 just in case, they happen to win the game, 31-21, something in that area. But I do believe Oregon State will get the job done by at least 2 touchdowns. Florida has so many guys out. I think they're missing 10 overall players. So that is going to be a problem for the Gators. And, Las Vegas is a whole other issue, so that's where the game's being played. So go with Oregon State and lay the points. But listen, the games tomorrow, I mean, obviously there's some big NFL games tomorrow. You have that with playoff implications, man. You have the Colts and the Vikings. Obviously the Colts not playing for anything, but San Francisco is breathing down the neck of Minnesota right now, especially after their victory last night. And Minnesota really hasn't played well, and there's an interesting line move in this game. Minnesota opened at 5.5. It's down to 3.5. You wouldn't think that happens with the Colts being 4-8-1 and Minnesota being 10-3. You would think the favorite at home on a Saturday, you would go with that, but very, very weird line move, so be aware of that. And our analysts, as of this moment, are still researching that game. Baltimore and Cleveland. Baltimore down to their third-string quarterback. They had 2 injuries. Obviously, Jackson out. Obviously, Huntley out. And now they're down to their third-string quarterback. And Cleveland has Deshaun Watson back. Cleveland not really playing for anything. I guess if Cleveland wins out, maybe they have an outside shot, but probably not with the way the AFC is going. Cleveland is a 2.5-point favorite at home against Baltimore. And then a really interesting game, not just from the snow or the weather, but Miami, man, I'll tell you, the schedule makers really didn't do them any favors. I spoke about this last week. I'll be speaking about it tomorrow on Sports Investors Daily, which is the sports informational investment show that I've done since 2006. That's on Saturday and Sunday all throughout the country. Miami had to play in San Francisco a couple weeks ago. Then they got the Sunday night game last week against the Chargers, where they did not look good at all. And then after playing that game Sunday night against the Chargers, after staying on the West Coast for the whole week, now they got to come and play a Saturday night game at Buffalo. That third straight road game. That is a really, really tough spot they put the Miami Dolphins in, did those schedule makers. Buffalo is -7. Again, it's not a game you want to go crazy on because the weather is going to be so tricky there. It calls for snow. They believe the field is going to be cleared. Wind, not bad. It says anywhere between 10 to 12 miles per hour. So that's not terrible, but you can't trust the weather in Buffalo. From what we've understood, that game is going to be played as snow was coming down, and at some points heavier than others, so visibility might be bad as well. So if anything, I would say lean towards the under in that game, if anything. But just make sure you are aware of the weather in that game because it's going to be tricky. Before I get to Sunday, I want to talk about sports wagering as a business and as an investment. I feel like when I say this, I try to say it as clearly as I can. I don't know if people have a hard time comprehending what I'm saying because many people who might be listening to this are gamblers. I do not consider myself to be a gambler. There is a difference. My definition of the word gambler might be different than your definition of the word gambler. Someone might say, well, if you put your money up and you're not guaranteed to get it back, you're gambling. Okay, true. My definition of a gambler is a guy that just needs action on basically every single day. Can't go a day, can't go a week, can't walk into a casino without having some sort of action. And I'm not that way. I've never been that way. I go to a casino. I go to Atlantic City or Las Vegas. I'm there for one purpose and one purpose only, to bet the game that I like, to bet the game that my company likes. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. I walk in, I bet that game, okay? I don't need to walk out through the casino, craps tables, 3-card poker, blackjack, roulette, whatever you want to call it. I don't need to play any of those games. I walk right by them. I don't care how hot the girl dealer is. It doesn't matter to me. I walk right by it. Don't care. The game wins that we bet, great. I take my money and I wait for the next game. I don't need to put it on anything else. If the game happens to lose, I don't trip out. I'm not emotional. We don't win every single game. I'd be lying if I stood up here and I said, every game I've went to AC or Las Vegas to bet I've won. That's just not factual. Been gambling since 2006 and again, I don't really consider myself a gambler. You want to say I bet on games, you gamble, okay, fine. But what I'm getting at is the word I don't want to use because it's an insulting word and might offend some people, but I'm just being honest. Degenerates. If you are a degenerate gambler, you're not going to win. My company is not going to win for you. If you need action every single day, it's hard to win because the juice is too big, your emotions are too high, and your money management is too poor. So if you're not willing to say, okay, I can't do it this way, but I still want to bet on the outcome of sporting events, but I want to do it the right way, well, that's what our company is here for. We put a plan in place. Every individual is different. A guy might call me up and say, I have $100,000 to invest. That happens. Another guy might call me up and say, I only have $1,000 to invest. That happens. We cater to plan for each individual, how much they can bet, the part of the country they're in, what are they willing, what are they trying to get out of this, what are they looking to make. It's an interview process. No different than, if you had a financial advisor for the stock market. It's an interview process. How strategic do you want to be? How aggressive do you want to be? These are questions that financial analysts ask. We ask the same questions. And when it comes right down to it, if you're patient, if you're selective, if you're disciplined, you can make good money at wagering on the outcome of sporting events. I will have the argument with anyone because I do it. So no one could say different. I sent tickets to customers. This is what I have on games. Here it is. Some of those tickets have lost. But at the end of the day, we're up pretty good money from this football. Our fiscal year begins on August 21st. That's when our fiscal year begins. And our fiscal year ends right around, we don't go a full 12 months. We go right around the 4th of July. And then we take 6 to 7 weeks off completely. So I do it. People could do it. But I don't need, like Cincinnati, Louisville tomorrow at 11 a.m. The hell with that game. Who cares? I'm not going to be on that game. I'm not even going to watch the game. I have no interest in the game whatsoever. Again, games can pass that I just throw my hands up. Again, big soccer fan. I'm not betting Croatia and Morocco on Saturday. I watch the game, but I'm not gonna bet the game. It's ridiculous. So again, sports investing as a business. Sports investing as an investment. We want to teach you how. So that's what we do here at takingvegas.com. And give us a call at 888-9-WIN-NOW, 888-994-6669. We can go through that interview process with you. Gave you a couple free picks. Let's go over to Sunday. Sunday's a difficult day. You really have to be careful on this day. So I'm going to get the free pick out of the way first. So for Sunday, December 18th, Taking Vegas podcast, free pick. Now look, I'm giving you another under. I don't want to hear the belly aching or the crying or the emails that I get all the time complaining about giving you guys an under, which happens to win way more than they lose. I've screamed about this for the last 12 weeks doing this dang podcast, all right? I don't care if it's an under. I don't care if it's an over, underdog fade. All I care about is the damn thing wins. That's it. So free pick for Sunday is going to be under Philadelphia and Chicago. Right now, Friday, that number looks around 48.5. We're going to go with the under Philadelphia and Chicago. Now, let me give you a rundown of these games because this is a day you're going to be. You think the bowl games are going to be tough on Saturday? Yeah, let me give you a rundown of the NFL. Atlanta and New Orleans. Atlanta is 5-8, and somehow they are right behind Tampa Bay for elite first place in that division. But they are starting a rookie quarterback in Desmond Ridder. He was the quarterback for Cincinnati last year, college football. He's making his first career start on the road at a tough place to play, even though the Saints suck. They're 4-9. Saints are -4. That's a tough game. Detroit and the Jets. Now, this game has playoff implications all over it. The Jets have played well lately, but they're 0-2 in their last 2. They played hard against Minnesota, had a chance to win. They played well against Buffalo, had some injuries at the quarterback position. They were in the game. They covered the game. Detroit got hot. Detroit's playing well. Detroit's one of the hottest teams in football right now. I don't think anyone ever thought you'd say that. But that's a tough game. That line has fluctuated. Detroit has been the favorite. The Jets have been the favorite. Right now, moment of doing this podcast, Lions -1.5. Now let's go over to Kansas City and the Texans. Now look, you and I well know that Kansas City is absolutely supposed to kick the living hell out of Houston. We get this. But your last image of Houston was them playing a really good game against Dallas last week, which they covered, and also teams that are -9 to 9.5 or higher this year in the NFL have covered 33% of the games, and last week in that situation, they went 0-3. Dallas was a big favorite last week. Kansas City was a big favorite last week. Buffalo was a big favorite last week. They all won the game. None of them covered the spread. So you want to lay 4. Yeah, and no one's taking Houston +14. No one's doing that. Well, you want to lay, 14 with Kansas City? Okay, they're supposed to win. The Eagles are in the same situation. -9. They're supposed to win. They're supposed to kill Chicago. But it's never that easy. And again, that death number, 9, 9.5 or higher. Carolina actually controls their own destiny. They're 5-8 and they control their own destiny. They traded everyone that had a pulse weeks ago, months ago, and they control their own destiny. If they win out, they win the division. You can't trust Trubisky with Pittsburgh. But really? You're going to bet Carolina? Dallas -4 over Jacksonville? You just saw what Dallas did last week against Houston. But no one in their right mind would ever put money on Jacksonville. Good money anyway. That's a tough game. Arizona, I think they're on their 6th-string quarterback right now. Denver, Russell Wilson got hurt, which might be a better thing for Denver, although you hate saying that. That's not a nice thing to say. But that's a tough game. You don't know what you're getting at a quarterback position. New England and Las Vegas. New England back-to-back road games. Obviously, Vegas off a tough loss on Thursday night. However, you got the coaching rivalry there. So a tough game. Tennessee and the Chargers. You can't trust Tennessee right now, and you can't trust the Chargers right now. Cincinnati and Tampa Bay. Slight lean on Cincinnati here. You can't trust Tampa Bay right now. And New York and Washington, I think that's going to be the best game of the day. I really do. That's a tough card. So if you haven't done research, if you haven't, done your due diligence, you're going to get hurt on Sunday. That's a tough go of it. You got backup quarterbacks. You got weather. You got all types of nonsense going on. That is a tough go of it on Sunday. So just be aware of that. I gave you a free pick under Philadelphia and Chicago. So guys, we're going to wrap up the podcast with that. There wasn't any really, nothing chaotic, went on this past week in the world of sports, except for the untimely, unfortunate death of Mike Leach, which we brought up. Bowls going on as I'm doing this. So we've done our research. We got a couple games we like. We'll have some NFL action for you on Sunday as well. And we're still researching the card. Be sure to check out TakingVegas.com. We got a great weekend special up. We will do a podcast next week, right before Christmas. I think we're doing a podcast next week on Thursday. So just got to check with the schedule there. And let me just go over the free picks one more time. Friday, Knicks, plus the 2.5, like that. Saturday, Oregon State, buy it down to 10. We think they win by at least 14 over a shorthanded Florida team. Sunday, under 48.5, Philadelphia and Chicago. Wish everyone a happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And hope you enjoy listening to the podcast. Check out TakingVegas.com and have a great weekend, everyone.